Not even the pharaohs dared to speak their names in vain. From the architect of the cosmos to the serpent that seeks to devour the sun, these are the 10 most powerful gods who ruled the Nile. This is the Immortals, where legends never die. Subscribe and take your place in the ranks of legends. Some considered them guardians, while others saw their presence as a mysterious force. Get ready to discover the stories of these ancient entities that shaped existence. Starting our top at number 10, Apophis, the serpent of the void and absolute chaos, the darkness that wants to devour time. Apep is not a god in the traditional sense. He is an unnatural force, the embodiment of Isfet, chaos, that existed before creation and vows to return the universe to absolute nothingness. While other deities represent life, death, or justice, Apep represents non-existence. Apep is the eternal enemy of Maat, the universal balance. Every night when the sun sets, a war of epic proportions begins in the underworld. This battle is not just a legend, but the explanation for why the world keeps turning. Apep uses his deafening roar and paralyzing gaze to try and stop Ra's bark. For the Egyptians, the fact that the sun rose every morning was proof that chaos had been defeated once again by the joint effort of the gods. If Apep were to triumph, reality would disintegrate, the Nile would dry up, and the stars would fall from the firmament. He is the reminder that peace and life are fragile states that must be defended with tireless vigilance, for darkness is always lurking at the borders of creation. For the ancient Egyptians, Apep was not a distant or abstract threat. His fury manifested physically in our world in this year, 2026, and since time immemorial. It was believed that earthquakes and solar eclipses were the direct consequences of his struggle against Ra. When the earth shook, it was not due to the movement of plates, but because of Apep's thrashing as he was wounded by Set's spear or the knives of the solar guardians. Eclipses were moments of absolute panic, interpreted as instants in which the serpent finally managed to swallow the sun in broad daylight. During these events, priests and the entire populace performed magical rites, shouting and beating drums to scare the beast and help Ra break free. This connection between myth and natural phenomena reveals that Apep was the face behind everything that human beings could not control. Proof that beneath the surface of calm pulses a massive destructive power that only the will of the gods and social order can contain. Moving to number 9, we meet the artisan of humanity, Khnum, the divine potter and creator of forms, the craftsman who sculpted your soul. Khnum is the god of creation in its most physical and detailed sense. While other gods issued commands from their celestial thrones, Khnum got his hands dirty with the primordial clay. Depicted as a man with the head of a ram with horizontal horns, his figure is that of the great biological architect of the universe. Khnum's power lies in his ability to design every human body and its corresponding Ka, the spirit or life force, before they enter the world. According to Egyptian tradition, Khnum resides on the island of Elephantine, where he uses the fertile silt of the Nile to shape children on his potter's wheel. No two beings are alike because Khnum devotes absolute care to every detail, defining not only physical appearance but also the abilities and character of each individual. He was the indispensable ally of women in childbirth and of midwives, as it was believed he supervised that the mold broke correctly to allow the soul to enter the earthly world. Without his silent and constant labor, the wheel of life would stop, leaving the world without new generations. Although primarily known for his role as a potter, Khnum possessed devastating political and economic power. He controlled the flooding of the Nile. It was believed that the river originated from a secret cavern beneath his feet in the region of the First Cataract. Khnum had the power to open or close the floodgates of the abyss, deciding whether Egypt would enjoy a generous flood bringing abundance or if the country would suffer years of extreme famine. This facet is dramatically narrated in the famous Famine Stela, which tells that after 7 years of drought, Pharaoh Djoser had to make massive offerings to Khnum so that the god would allow the waters to flow again. Khnum is, therefore, the creator of forms in every sense. He shapes human bodies and shapes the landscape of Egypt, reminding us that life depends as much on the spiritual spark as it does on the intelligent management of natural resources. He is the God who teaches us that destiny is in the hands of the one who controls the source. At number 8, fear the river's edge. Sobek, the lord of the waters and indomitable force, the predator who became a protector. Sobek is the personification of nature's most wild and visceral power, depicted as a man with the head of a crocodile or as the animal itself. This god embodied both the lethal dangers and the blessings that flowed from the Nile River. Sobek held a central place in the daily life of Egypt because the kingdom's prosperity depended on him. It was believed that the Nile was born from Sobek's sweat, directly linking him to the annual flood that fertilized the land. Although he was a god feared for his aggressiveness, he was also invoked as a healer and a shield against evil. His brute strength was vital for defending the righteous. Ancient texts mention that Sobek helped Horus recover the remains of his father, Osiris, from the depths of the water. This duality made him a necessary god, a guardian who used his predatory nature to keep chaos at bay. In his temples, such as Khnum, crocodiles were raised as sacred beings, adorned with jewels, and fed the finest meats, symbolizing the physical connection between man and the divine power of water. Beyond his official cult, there existed a popular belief charged with mysticism and danger. It was said that eating the flesh of a Nile crocodile allowed a warrior to directly absorb the god's brute strength. This was not a common act of feeding, but a rite of transmutation. He who managed to hunt and consume the river's most lethal animal supposedly acquired Sobek's endurance, speed, and ferocity, becoming practically invulnerable on the battlefield. However, this practice was viewed with ambivalence. On one hand, it was a hunter's ultimate honor. On the other, it was considered a direct challenge to the god's sovereignty. This sacred cannibalism reflects the deep Egyptian obsession with the transfer of energy. To be an invincible leader or warrior, you had to be capable of assimilating the essence of the supreme predator. Thus, Sobek reminds us that the force of nature must not only be worshipped from the shore, but must at times be integrated into our own spirit to survive in a hostile world. Coming in at number 7, the keeper of the scales, Anubis, the lord of thresholds and guardian of souls, the guardian who decides your eternal destiny. Anubis is probably the most iconic and mysterious figure of ancient Egypt. As the master of death, his role is not that of a dark reaper, but that of a compassionate guide and a supreme technician of immortality. Anubis is the ultimate protector of necropolises and the patron of embalmers. His technical function was vital to Egyptian civilization. He invented the art of mummification to restore the body of the god Osiris, establishing the protocol that would allow all men to aspire to eternal life. In the Hall of the Two Truths, it is Anubis who adjusts the scales with millimetric precision. His piercing gaze evaluates the purity of the heart against the feather of Ma'at. If the deceased is attacked by demons during their journey, Anubis acts as their shield, guiding them through the labyrinths of the Duat. He is not a god to be feared, but the most valuable ally a human being can have when crossing the frontier of the unknown. Unlike modern Western culture, where black is associated with mourning, pain, and emptiness, for the ancient Egyptians, the color of Anubis had a diametrically opposite meaning. The black color of his fur did not represent somber death, but rather the fertile silt of the Nile. This dark mud was the sediment left behind after the floods, which allowed agriculture to flourish. It was the raw material of life. Therefore, Anubis was black because he symbolized rebirth. His skin was a promise that, even in the darkness of the tomb, there existed the potential for a new existence. By anointing bodies with black resins and depicting the god in this tone, the Egyptians were not celebrating the end, but preparing the seed of the soul to germinate in the spiritual world. Anubis is the lord of transformation, the alchemist who converts the decomposition of the body into the purity of an eternal spirit, proving that in the heart of the deepest darkness is where life truly begins. gods. Reaching the halfway point at number 6, Thoth, the architect of thought and master of magic, the god whose words alter reality. Thoth is not just the scribe of the gods. He is the mind behind the cosmic order, the great calculator who transformed chaos into mathematics, language, and time. Thoth is the god who masters magic, writing, and the reckoning of time. His intellect is so vast that it is said he not only invented hieroglyphs, the divine words, but also calculated with mathematical precision the location of every star and planet in the firmament. In mythology, he acts as the infallible mediator. When the gods clash, Thoth intervenes with logic to prevent the destruction of the world. He is responsible for measuring time through the phases of the moon and keeping the calendar in order, ensuring that the seasons and the flooding of the Nile follow their natural course. Without his intervention and his constant recording of reality, the universe would lose its structure and return to primitive confusion. Beyond his official duties, a dark and fascinating legend circulates: the existence of the Book of Thoth. It was believed that this was no ordinary text, but a forbidden grimoire written by the god's own hand, containing just 2 spells of terrifying power. The first allowed whoever read it to enchant the sky, the earth, the abyss, and the mountains, granting them the ability to understand the language of birds, fish, and wild beasts. The second spell was even more ambitious. It allowed a mortal to see the sun shining in the darkness of night and to behold the gods in their true form. However, this knowledge came with a devastating price. According to ancient Egyptian tales, such as the story of Neferkaptah, those who attempted to steal and use this book suffered unimaginable tragedies, as Thoth severely punished the impure who sought to usurp the secrets reserved for divinity. This myth underscores the Egyptian philosophy that knowledge is the most sacred and dangerous tool in existence, a force capable of elevating man to the stars or sinking him into the deepest of misfortunes if he does not possess the wisdom to handle it. At number 5, the most controversial protector, Set, the Lord of Chaos and the indispensable defender. Is it possible that the most hated murderer in mythology is, at the same time, the only one capable of saving the universe from total annihilation? Set is, without a doubt, the most complex and misunderstood figure in the Egyptian pantheon, often reduced to the role of a villain for the murder of his brother Osiris. Set is not the personification of evil, but of necessary chaos. As the god of the desert and foreign lands, Set embodies everything that is wild and unpredictable. In the Egyptian mindset, order, Ma'at, cannot exist without a counterpoint to challenge it. Set is that spark of rebellion and excessive physical power. Although he was fought by Horus in a millennial struggle for the throne, his role within the cosmos was too crucial to be eliminated. The ancient Egyptians feared him, but they also respected him deeply. Warriors invoked his name before battle, and pharaohs of the Ramesside dynasty adopted him as their patron, seeing in his ferocity the energy needed to expand borders and subdue enemies. Set is the storm that purifies the air after the heat, the fire that consumes so that something new can be born. The most fascinating and heroic aspect of Set occurs every night in the deepest darkness of the Duat. While the world sleeps, Ra's solar bark must cross the underworld to ensure the dawn, facing Apophis, the serpent of the void that seeks to devour the sun and plunge the universe into eternal nothingness. Not even the most luminous gods could hold the beast's gaze without succumbing to terror or hypnosis. Set was the only being with a will unbreakable enough and a nature wild enough to stare into Apophis's eyes without blinking. Armed with his spear and his deafening roar, Set stood at the prow of the bark to weaken the serpent with his brute strength and hypnotic gaze, allowing the light to survive one more day. This myth reveals the great paradox of Set. The same God who brought death to the world of men is the supreme guardian who prevents existence itself from disappearing into the jaws of absolute chaos. Without his fury, the sun would never rise again. Taking the number 4 spot, the rightful heir, Horus, the avenger of the sky and protector of kings. Imagine a warrior whose gaze is capable of igniting the day and whose fury defines the fate of an entire nation. Horus is not simply a falcon-headed deity. He is the ultimate symbol of the triumph of light over shadows, the legitimate heir who defied death and chaos to reclaim a throne that was his by blood right. In ancient Egypt, Horus was not just a god to be prayed to. He was the very spirit that inhabited every living pharaoh, guaranteeing the justice and protection of humanity under his eternal flight. As Lord of the Sky, Horus represents legitimate royal power and divine authority. After the murder of his father, Osiris, Horus spent his youth hidden in the Delta marshes, preparing for the most epic battle in mythology, the fight against his uncle Set, the god of chaos. This conflict, which lasted for decades, was not just a war of brute force, but a battle for cosmic order. Upon winning, Horus became the unifier of the two lands, establishing the model for what a ruler should be: a tireless warrior, a brilliant strategist, and above all, a protector of his people. His figure is the shield that separates civilization from anarchy, ensuring that harmony, Mat, prevails over disorder. The cosmic magnitude of Horus is so vast that the ancients believed his eyes were, literally, the luminaries of the world. His right eye was the sun, and his left eye was the moon. It was said that when Horus closed both eyes, total darkness overtook existence, plunging the universe into the void. During his brutal confrontation with Set, the latter managed to tear out his left eye, the moon, breaking it into pieces. However, the god Thoth intervened to restore it, giving rise to the Udyat, or the Eye of Horus, one of the most powerful amulets in history. This restored eye not only brought light back to the night, but became the universal symbol of healing, protection, and physical integrity. Horus is not just the god who fights, he is the god who, even after being wounded and mutilated, finds a way to heal and return stronger, teaching humanity that true victory lies in the ability to rebuild oneself in the face of adversity. In our top 3, the king of the afterlife, Osiris, the lord of eternity and judge of destiny. What if your entry into paradise depended on your heart being lighter than a feather? This was not a simple metaphor for the ancient Egyptians, but the ultimate test under the gaze of Osiris, the god who died as a man to be reborn as the supreme judge of all humanity. He is the pillar of hope, the figure who transformed the terror of death into the promise of a new and glorious awakening. Osiris does not only rule the underworld, he is the embodiment of moral justice. As Lord of the Duat, he presides over the Hall of the Two Truths, a setting where time stands still and the truth comes to light. Here, the deceased must face the weighing of the heart. Osiris, with his green skin, the color of vegetation that sprouts after the flood, and his body wrapped in linen bandages, observes in silence. He has the final word on who deserves immortality in the fields of Aru, and who must face eternal oblivion by being devoured by the fearsome Ammit. His presence ensured that regardless of social status on earth, only the righteousness of the soul would allow one to cross the threshold into eternity. The pharaoh who civilized the world and conquered the void. Before becoming the monarch of the afterlife, Osiris was the first mythical pharaoh of Egypt. It is said that he received a kingdom plunged into savagery and through wisdom and love, taught men agriculture, the art of law, and music. He was a civilizing king who ruled in peace until the envy of his brother Set led to his atrocious death and the dismemberment of his body into 14 pieces. However, his true legend began with his fall. His wife Isis, in an act of magical devotion, recovered his remains and, alongside Anubis, performed the first ritual of mummification in history. Upon being reassembled, Osiris did not return to mortal life, but transcended to a higher existence, becoming the first immortal being. This milestone changed history forever. For the first time, death was not the end, but a transition. Osiris proved that order, Mayat, always triumphs over chaos, and that, after the deepest darkness, the light of a new dawn always awaits the righteous. At number 2, the light that powers the world. Ra, the engine of visible existence. What if the sun were not a star, but a warrior who must die and be resurrected every 24 hours? Ra is the god who prevents the universe from being devoured by absolute darkness. Ra is the primordial source of all biological energy and the engine of the Zep-Tepi, the beginning of time. His power is dynamic and cyclical, based on the constant transformation of matter. He is not merely a solar symbol. He is the ruler who guarantees the flow of time and the seasons through his journey in the sacred barks, the Manjet, day, and the Mesektet, night. His importance lies in the fact that his movement prevents the cosmos from returning to the frigid and static state of original chaos, Nun. His sovereignty is exercised through the Eye of Ra, an independent feminine entity that acts as his executive arm and a weapon of mass destruction against any rebellion threatening the cosmic order, or Ma'at. Unlike other gods, Ra's power is subject to a divine biological vulnerability. He is born as a child at dawn, reaches maturity at noon, and ages as an old man at sunset. This degradation forces him to descend into the Duat, underworld, every night to regenerate his light in an epic battle against the forces of the void. Without this daily process of death and rebirth, the sun would lose the strength to illuminate creation, making Ra the only god who must earn his right to rule the universe every 24 hours. He is the will that transforms chaos into order through the constant combustion of his own divine essence. Ra is the physical phenomenon. Amun is the metaphysical concept. Ra is the king of the visible world, whose heat can be felt. He is pure energy in action. Amun is the invisible intelligence and the hidden mystery that designed the laws Ra must execute. While Ra is the lamp, Amun is the electric current that powers it. A profound aspect of his mythology is that Ra created humanity with his own tears, linking us directly to his divine chemical essence. However, his greatest secret was his true name, or Ren, a sonic vibration that maintained the cohesion of matter. According to the myth of Isis, this name held the source code of creation. If someone managed to extract it from his core, Ra would lose his sovereignty over the heavens. Furthermore, following the human rebellion detailed in the Book of the Heavenly Cow, Ra decided to withdraw into the sky upon the back of Nut, creating the current separation between the world of gods and the world of men, leaving his eye as a perpetual guardian that punishes injustice. And finally, at number 1, the hidden supreme, Amun, the absolute and invisible power. How do you defeat an enemy who is everywhere but cannot be seen? Amun was not just a god. He was the invisible force that held the atoms of the Egyptian universe together. Amun represents the pinnacle of Egyptian theology due to his abstract nature. Unlike deities linked to physical elements, Amun is the breath of life, the primordial energy that enables movement. He is a self-created god, the Zep-Tepi who emerged from the chaos of none before time began. His power manifests as the one who remains in all things. Theologically, he is the one unique who becomes millions, with all other deities being extensions of his will. He is the engine of Mat, universal order, responsible for the stars following their course and ensuring biological cycles do not stop. His decrees were the physical law of existence. It was believed that his breath kept the sky separated from the earth to prevent the collapse of the world. His sovereignty was cosmic. During the New Kingdom, he was the axis of civilization, influencing politics and war from the shadows of mystery. He was not a god of physical action, but of immanent will. His invisible presence determined the fate of kingdoms. He is the intelligence that precedes matter, the architect who designed the laws of reality before light existed. Amun is the uncaused cause that sustains the fabric of reality from the imperceptible. His will is the gravity of worlds and the spark of consciousness. He is the force in space and the whisper that guides the heart. existing simultaneously in the physical plane, the Duat, and primordial chaos without losing authority. His name means the Hidden One. The Egyptians believed his body was made of divine lapis lazuli, vibrating at a frequency invisible to the human eye. He spoke himself into existence through the cry of the great cackler, a blast that initiated the vibration of matter. He could manifest as an invisible serpent protecting the world egg from chaos. His identity was an enigma even to the ancient gods, who called him the faceless god. In Thebes, it was warned that uttering his secret name would disintegrate reality, so epithets were used instead. His shadow was the night, and his breath the desert wind. His true form was black light, energy perceptible only by the soul liberated from the body. His priests used chants at specific frequencies to connect with his invisible vibration. His power has no geographical or temporal limits, being the only god who cannot be destroyed or forgotten as long as air exists. Egypt is eternal, but these myths are just the start. If you enjoyed this countdown, leave a like and subscribe for more mysteries. Before you go, which of these gods is your personal favorite? Now, if you're ready for more scale, click here to see our top 10 most powerful giants in mythology.